No, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Between the Headlines. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition, we're going to be talking about the Norway camp. 41 years after the Mano River Norway camp disaster, what have we learned? Yesterday was the 41st anniversary of the tragedy that happened in Cape Mount in 1982 at the mining site of the National Iron Ore Company at a camp called Norway, where a landslide took place, claiming the lives of over 200 persons, the official count, but they said the unofficial count may be higher. Since then, the Norway camp, what were some of the things that caused the accident, and how are conditions in mining towns today? Okay, so we're going to talk about all that. With me, I have first-hand experience, people that were there at Norway camp when this happened, people that heard it on radio, people that covered the news, and everything in between. Let me welcome my co-host, who's also an engineer, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, welcome, and I understand you are classmates to some of the panelists tonight. Welcome.
Yeah, to bring back memories. A lot of us started our journey at Luxon Tenebris together. We used to call it Building GB, Green Building, and it brings back a lot of memories. I'm glad to see these distinguished gentlemen on this panel today.
Thank you. Let me bring in Dr. Camah T. Mulabah, who was working with NROC at that time when this happened. Currently, he's the CEO and chief consultant at Met Data Consulting. Dr. Mulabah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, CEO. I'm happy to be here with all my fellows. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. James Gbarbea. He and Dr. Mulabah joined the company at the same time, and they were there when this thing happened. Mr. Gbarbea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. CEO. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also welcome at the time of the tragedy, Dr. Brutus Cooper was working with the Lands and Mines Ministry. Dr. Cooper, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here and hopefully listen and make some contribution.
Thank you. And by the way, Dr. Cooper is an exploration geologist a petroleum geologist and acting director, Bureau of Hydrocarbon, the Liberia Department of Energy at the Ministry of Lands and Mines. That was in 1981 to 85. A senior hydrogeologist uh, in London County, Lanesborough from 88 to 94. Environmental engineer, the regional environmental compliance manager in Virginia in 2000 till today. Dr. Cooper is also an associate professor of geology and environmental science at George Mason University in Virginia. Dr. Cooper, it's a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me welcome someone who also cares about the environment, the African Environmental Watch boss here, Dr. Maurice Koffa. Dr. Koffa, welcome to Focus on Liberia Between the Highlights.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to share the platform with the distinguished gentleman, and also greeting to your audience.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Today, again, is the 41st anniversary of the tragedy. Well, the first time this tragedy happened in Liberia, and I was in probably 6th grade at the time, and this was on the news, and we were all shocked. The whole country was mourning. Please share the show, invite someone, and let's talk about Norway Camp in Camah County. Well, so let's get this started. Let me bring in Jimmy, my co-host Jimmy. Talk about Norway Camp. Where were you when this happened?
Oh wow, this was happening in the early 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Gentlemen, keep me honest.
October 6, 1982. Yesterday was
right.
the 41st anniversary.
And so it was during Dole's administration. President, at that time it was Simon Kanyando. And there was not much, it was not broadcast very much, but we just heard of a tragedy in Norway town where people were buried under debris from the mines. It was given some publicity for a couple of days. But what was alarming is we never found out who was responsible and liable for the lives that were lost and the property that was damaged. We only heard that there was a this tragic incident, and after a couple of days, that was it. We never heard anything again, and that we consider very mysterious. We used to call the place Norway Camp. It was just a couple of days, and then there was no more. So I'm glad that these gentlemen can bring back the calamity that occurred. So maybe the people who were hurt and involved, maybe those people who lost their lives, maybe they can receive some kind of justice today after so many years.
Thank you. Before I come to those who are actually involved with it, let me ask Dr. Koffa too, what you remember about Norway Camp, October 6, 1982?
Well, actually, exactly what the previous speaker said. I heard about it on the news, and I couldn't make sense of it exactly. What was the composition of the whole incident, so to speak? And I heard that over 200 people died. But after I advanced myself into climate change and also environmental science and disaster management, then I began to understand the impact and what the victim went through and the failure of our institution to always take seriously these events when they happen. And so many of them are happening now in Sino, in Grand Cru, in Bopolu, and the list goes on. And recently, and for some reason, Camah has always been a victim of most of the disaster. Gbarbea Mountain is another great thing that happened in Camah, and we are still talking about it. And so it is very frustrating that these things continue to happen when there is possibility for us to try to avert some of the destruction and damage. And the worst of it is the victims never get to recover, never get a benefit from what happened to them, and they suffer through the entire process on their own, which is quite, very devastating and disappointing.
Thank you. Let me go to Dr. Brutus. Uh, right now in Liberia, everybody is talking about elections and all the politics and everything. We have chosen today to speak about, or to host all of you to talk about the anniversary of this tragedy. Make our viewers understand why this is important, Dr. Brutus, and what we can get from it today.
Thank you so much. Clarification to the introduction. I'm former acting director at the Bureau of Hydrocarbon at the Ministry of Lands, Mine, and Energy, and I'm a licensed professional geologist here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Uh, I'm interested in talking about why it happens. Also, Dr. Koffa mentioned the possibility to avoid some of these things. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Mudslide is a subset of a geologic disaster called mass wasting or mass movement. Mudslide comes from piling granular material. Let's just do a simple mental exercise. You have two glasses, one in each hand, one filled with sand and one filled with water. You lift your hand 12 inches above a flat table, gradually dump the water and the sand on the table. The sand will form a cone. That is a sharp edge at the top and a circular base. So that is the angle of repose have been reached, the angle at which the granular material is stable, achieves stability. So they pile, my understanding of it, they pile out all of the mining debris, the mining waste at a higher, relatively higher elevation above Norway Camp. So when rain fell, I believe, a couple of days or so, adding rain to unconsolidated material does two things. One, it adds weight to the unconsolidated material. And two, it reduces the coefficient of internal friction. So when saturation is achieved, the mud begins to flow and lose cohesion. The mud started flowing, first of all, before the flow. When you pile the mud at a higher elevation, it acquires something called potential energy. That is the mass of the mud multiplied by the gravitational attraction multiplied by the elevation. So as the water saturates the mud, they begin to cascade down to release energy to a lower elevation within the Earth gravitational field. That's how come these, if the mud has been piled at the elevation of Norway Camp and level, we wouldn't be here talking about that. That's why it has happened. That's my understanding. So the mud was piled, soil from years of mining piled at a higher elevation than the elevation of the base of the camp, Norway Camp. Water saturated the mud lose internal friction, added weight to the mud, and the mud started to flow, and unfortunately, these people got buried. Yes, the situation is predictable and can be avoided. We have the knowledge and the equipment of people knowledgeable to do enforcement of any mining regulation, environmental health and safety regulation if they exist in Liberia, so that if there were no slope at all, mass wasting, a necessary condition for mass wasting, the presence of slope, S-L-O-P-E, meaning an inclined surface, a tilting inclined surface. If you remove slope, there will be no mass wasting. The part of the material above the elevation of the ground and it came sliding down the slope and got to the people.
Thank you.
Theoretically, that's what happened and it can be avoided. It's unnecessary. No one should tell anybody filing claim that it's a will of God. Hell no, excuse my French, is no will of God. So I digress for a while. I will come back to it later.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I have more questions on that. I mean, why were people living there and you piled debt over them? What you expect? But let me this whole thing from a company called NIOC. That was the company. Let me bring in Mr. Gbarbea to give us that background of NIOC and No Way Camp. Just for some people who don't know.
Yeah, it's good to get a background here and the concept. NIOC is National Iron Ore Company. It's on the boundary with Sierra Leone. The Mano River forms the boundary. NIOC was an offspring of the LMC, Women Hills. During the Second World War, one of the General Christie, who flew out of Liberia into North Africa, got caught up in the magnetic anomalies. That's how Bomb Hill was formed, and he further formed the B Mountain and NIOC. Now, the government of Liberia had interest in the NIOC project. Shares were given to Liberians. At the end of 1982, when we got there, shares belonging to the government of Liberia was 85%. The company was failing. Equity in the company was owned by government. Government then went and got a loan from lenders, $67 million to refund the mine, and got in the Mechem group. Now, of all the technicians we had in Liberia, most of them served as political attachments. Qualified people, but never worked the mine. At this time, Camah and myself, newly graduates, were sent there to learn and eventually be managers in the mine. Now, NIOC has a composition of 7 mountains, hills, call it hills, 1,500 maximum. Most of them. Now, the hill of interest here was the hill called Ish Hill. When you entering Mano River, driving in, at the time it was a no man's land. Nobody habited that area. That's where the name No Way came from. Nothing, no way you could get anything done. That's how the name No Way. No way to way, no way to way. So they built the exploration camp at the beginning of the Ish Hill. Something like that, those things they had like if I solo, like that. And people later settle around them with other settlements. But the event that happened had to do with monitoring and location of where you place your dam. That was the The mine managers had only people who took instruction, did not follow anything technical or pursue any inspection. Government officials that went in only went to and saw what was displayed to them. Nobody inspected. Now, Monterey started this mine, well, Washburn, and had a waterway, say with a width of 1,000 feet, at least. Imagine 1,000 feet. In mining, there's something they call the footwall. Monterey is a lateritic ore with a lot of seepage and the rest of it. So the place that was of low iron deposit, what we call waste, a lot of silicated clay material, there where they selected for waste dump. That distance from where the bottom of Ish Hill, so the bottom to the landmark of where No Way Camp was, at least 1,000 feet. And nobody had been cleaning, checking over the long years. Water just flowed from the washing point into that. So you had sediment accumulation of over 30 feet. Slides, mud. Now, we have 2 seasons in Liberia, rainy, dry, rainy. During the rainy season, you have a lot of seepage into what he called loose material. That slope was there. So about 500,000 tons of material, waste material, fell into what we call a 1,000 width material with something like 30 feet deep. It took like a tidal wave. Because it had not been monitored, nobody had seen whether there was seepage, whether they were creeping in the movement of this material. Nobody. That thing went like a boom. I heard it from where I lived at the time near the hospital. And it went and took like a tidal wave and smashed everything across the road, all the houses. So the conservative estimate is about 200 persons. But I think it's more than almost 500 persons because some people washed out into the Mano River. The drainage was not clean all those years. So when that thing hit, imagine at 30 feet, this is something that over 3,000 feet long. And that's what happened in Mano River.
So the death came and fell into like a
pool.
And
that felt like directly into that pool.
So the pool now, the dirt and the water make
pool, everything together, went like a tidal wave.
Wow.
And smash everything in its path. And that's why at the end of the day, we noticed that government practically owned the company. Those that were managing the company were only sent by those who gave the loan. Government owned 85% of Mano River mines, NIOC. Who take responsibility? So you understand why people got left out, why the things happened the way they happened. But government didn't have the money, and because of that, and that's what happened.
For the sake of, sorry, Doc, but for the sake of the audience, I want to read you the technical report that came out of this.
We'll get to that report.
Okay.
We'll get to the report. Let me hear from Dr. Mulabah too. Is Dad, where were you that night? And why is it that you were not? I'm not trying. You are muted. And why is it that why are people living so close to the mountain? I thought the towns were supposed to be separate. And why were other people not affected? Is this because they were the well-to-do people and other people on the other side? Dr. Mulabah, what's your experience? Unmute yourself, please. There's a mute button.
Okay. Hello.
All right, go ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me give a graphic picture of where things were. Look at the Norway camp, the tailing pond, and the wisdom as steps. The first step is Norway camp. On the second step is the tailing pond, and on the third step is the wisdom.
What is tailing pond?
Tailing pond is when you do the washing, you wash the material from the washing plant, it comes down as a waste, but it's slurry, it has water.
Call it quick analogy, call it a swimming pool.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no, but a swimming pool is too light. You have to like a mud.
Well, it's actually a dirt. It's actually kind of a dirt dam that is
slurry.
Yeah,
slurry with mud.
It's very, very slurry because it's water always coming through with the mixture. So that tailing pond was above Norway. Okay? Then above the tailing pond was the wisdom.
Look at that disaster for trouble.
Yeah. So let me explain. Okay. So I just want to give you a graphic picture and I'll tell you what really developed. So the tailing pond, the wisdom was sitting above the tailing pond, and Norway camp was sitting under the tailing pond. All right. So because the wisdom is not in situ, it doesn't have cohesion with the material on which it was lying, and the rainy season had come, and then there was an earthquake in East Africa that triggered the movement of that wisdom. Okay, so the wisdom launches into the tailing pond, which was already a slurry, and then a combination of that went over into Norway. So you got a picture of what Gbarbea was saying. That's how it happened. It broke off. It was triggered by an earthquake somewhere in East Africa. Because it was not in situ, it was lying, the angle of repose was violated. So the material just, all of it came into the tailing pond, like Jewa said, then it just a tidal wave onto the people who were already sleeping there. So basically that what happened. And we were there. That night, Jewa happened to work first shift. He was lucky that day he worked the first shift from, from 7 to 2 to 3. So 2 p.m., I come in and change shift with him. And I was up at that same spot 10 p.m. to close the shift. And the third shift were coming in. What really bothers me is people who work with me that night, they say, boss man, I'll see you tomorrow. And that tomorrow never came because they live in Norway. And yeah, so I couldn't. And early in the morning, Jewa comes to get a pickup. We used to change the pickup. He's knocking on my door, and I'm angry. I said, just take the car and go. He said, no, come on, you have to get up. What happened? He said, something happened. They said, last night. I said, where? He said, where you were working last night? So we went and that's how it happened. And not to talk too much about it, that's exactly what happened. And the government failed the people. They were buried in mass graves. And what really made me angry that day, the manager who came with Mescam to eat a $50 million stood there the same time the thing happened. I wish we could go up and do more production. People have died. That's all you could say. So government owned the thing and government made a report. What do you say? They can tell you 200 people died. Government owned the mine, government dictated what the report should say. But we know what happened. But it's every year we try to say something. But this is another tragedy of human loss. And nothing happened. Up to now, when you go to Norway, you don't even see the grave because it was mass grave and wooden crosses. How long they last? That's an open field and we playing football on it. It was a tragedy.
So why? I mean, normally I've not been in any mining area before, but why is the place where people sleep so close to where you are producing, where you are doing the work? Wouldn't it be separate?
We said this before. The concessionaire will do anything to cut costs. It is a responsibility of the government to inspect.
Thank you.
That this is not the way to be. If the safety officer of Mano was a relative of Formula and he knew nothing, he was misplaced. That man had not gone up to the mine. The day it happened, he came and asked me, where is H Hill? The safety officer of a company asking me what H Hill for the very first time. What is wrong with us is us. We don't negotiate the concession agreement properly and we don't monitor. Jewa said it right. And the government own NIOC. Who do you go to?
You go to. Because you see technicians from ministries come in, but all they do is go to the office or take a sightseeing on the mine. How far is that? I can see across to Sierra Leone. I can see across to that. That's all they do. They do nothing. It's not until this landslide thing happened. The management of NIOC was a Canadian company called Beckham. They were forced to hire environmentalists that I had to work with to visit every dump site on all the mines, abandoned or whatever. Find, locate all towns adjacent, know the coverage area, describe everything, vegetations, everything, and number of huts. We had to know everything. Those things, I don't think they're in your report. I don't think those things are in the report that you have. Go up and back to the place called Kaula Home, Back Road, and all the big towns are on there. Those things are not in your report. But Megan had a copy of all the report. Because my duty was to periodically, weekly, after this thing happened, to document step by step, walk, put pegs in, to check the movement of pegs, put strings in to see there's movement. We did all that on the mines. But you don't have any in the reports yet. So
if the ministry,
And
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm listening, and I'm just troubled in the inside. Granted that all of this that are happening, I'm glad to listen to all the scientists who are giving the reason why it is happening, and I'm learning a whole lot from it. But what with me very frustrating is even in spite of all that happened in Camah, I came nowhere. The situation still persists in Liberia. The government have not learned from what has happened in the past to its own people. Concession agreements are made and they do not follow the environmental policy. Even with EPA being in place, even though at that time EPA was not in existence, we had a splendid environmental, every agency had a low environmental group, and nothing was being enforced. There were no EIA, there were no environmental impact assessment that would detail the step by step and the monitoring aspect. Everything went wrong. It came nowhere from what I learned now. Everything went wrong. And the government had a responsibility to at least minimize the impact. Like previous speaker said, when the concession or people go in there, they go there to seek their own interests.
Of course.
The community right to know, they don't care. What is needed to protect the community? How will someone carry on a major mining something that is prone to disaster in so of a close proximity to where the people live? But is our government learning from our mistakes? No. The situation continue. Let's talk about concession versus artisanal mining that is
Okay.
currently going on in most of the counties.
May I
And
answer your question?
people are dying every day at the artisanal mining side because there's no regulation and it is not being permitted by the government. And so most of the big guys in government, they got a little pet project. They go into the counties where they see the mining opportunity and barely give those people anything. And because of poverty, they use their bare hand and few little equipment. And at the end of the day, they don't carry out sheeting and shoring. And by the time they dig so much, the whole place collapsed. And it is unreported. We
Okay.
know that it goes on in Sino. We know that it goes on in other counties. So the issue here is it is our government that it is not fulfilling the constitutional responsibility to protect its own people.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now,
The question
that-
is okay.
yeah, go ahead, Dr. Mulabah, because
The
I want
question
since we know what happened, I was coming to the why, so we could actually piece it out. But go ahead.
I just want to answer that question. What do we have learned? We have learned nothing because we continue to put incompetent people in position where they don't fit.
Thank
We
you.
never learn. Okay, go ahead, John.
Yeah, let's discuss. We talk about what happened. Let's now talk about why. Why I know each of you talked a little bit, but let's start with Dr. Cooper. Why this happened?
Thank you for bringing me on again. And the step ladder or graphic description given by Dr. Camah is all made it clear that it's like an engineered disaster waiting to happen.
Yep.
So you have the elevation of the camp at zero elevation. He said you go, let's say maybe 5 or 10 feet above the camp elevation, you power pool of mud, saturated mud and thick
Right.
water that can wipe anybody out.
Yep.
Then you go above that mud pile, you power unconsolidated soil material.
Right.
That's an engineered disaster. So now, when you elevate the unconsolidated soil to a higher elevation, you increase the potential energy of the soil, the mass of the soil multiplied by the Earth gravitational attraction multiplied by the distance you lift the soil from the mine to the top hill above the pond. So when the water got soaked into it, it did two things. It loosened the internal friction of this consolidated soil above the pond, and it also added weight to the pond. so that the angle of repose has been exceeded and triggered, as Dr. Mulabah indicated, triggered by a combination of exceeding the angle of repose and the trigger by the earthquake. All that come cascading down, added that to the mud pile that made it even heavier. And the term I'm looking for is gain in viscosity. That is, it had a very little resistance to the flow, so it went down with speed like, let me say, hell has broken loose, so to speak that way. You have saturated soil added to a pond filled with muddy water, and that broke loose, came and buried our people for nothing.
So higher kinetic energy implies instant death.
The energy is being released like, let's say you lift a book off of the ground, a 10-pound book off of the ground, you lift it 20 feet to the top of the table. When you drop this book, the noise that you are hearing is the release of potential energy. So okay, it slammed to the ground. The same thing with this mud sliding down. Now it developed kinetic energy and went and slapped and buried our people. So we now know what happened and why it happened. Looking back, 2020, hindsight, that design should have been reversed. The camp is up the hill, the pond is down the hill, with the mud part is at the lowest elevation. Use that mud to fill the valley. People will still be here and be living.
Well,
Yeah, go on.
Let me come in. You see, the thing is, when Mano River tried to revive itself, when they got this loan, management set their own level of priorities in terms of how production had to make money to recover, pay loan, pay the rest of it. They never look at, they didn't give it that much of a critical interest because of no incident. But everybody saw that the Mano River thing was there. We saw the pond that had not been touched. But again, that's what I'm saying. When technicians become politicians and go into situations where they see it with a political eye, in our technology, we have the third eye. As a geologist, I have a third eye which I can see most things that politicians would not see. And when politicians begin to only see what they want to see or what they are glorified, that's what happened with Mano River. Now, when they saw this kind of thing happening into the people, they got less concerned to pay people. Now, if you compare, like you asked the question, why? Look around, I serve as also Inspector General of Mines, Ministry of Lands and Mines. When I serve as Inspector General of Mines, with this kind of experience from Mano River, we made sure we pushed the Ministry of Finance those days, gave my men logistics, trained my men. I purposely went to the field to see what people did. And we had a lot of things basically controlled. Because if you mess up and I found out, you were in trouble. But now everybody got a loose end, looking for what they can get and not being paid enough. Those people were, the salary were there. Each person had a motorbike. Each one had something for gas, so they could do the work. Nowadays, nobody got anything. Everybody looking where you got from me are here today. They turn a blind eye. And that's
I think if I become in, Mr. Ja, I think the issue here, and we understand all that happened, and things happen. We say we learn from our past to improve our future. The problem is a systemic problem in Liberia. Let's look at the current situation there now. Let's take, for example, Firestone that been there for over 100 years continue to contaminate the resident wherever they occupy. Firestone is like a small government in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
Firestone does not obey EPA regulations. It speaks directly to the president. I remember one EPA executive director got fired because they fined Firestone for releasing certain contaminant, and the president just got her and fired the guy right on the spot. And a similar situation exists recently in Cape Mount with the Beer Mountain situation, after that contaminant happened and fish and other livestock were dying, people were eating it. They didn't know.
What
The
happened at
president
Beer
went
Mountain?
in Beer Mountain. You heard about
Yeah.
the
No,
contamination
it's
of the
not
water.
Beer Mountain. Let me just come in. There are two mountains here. I did some group with work with some group out of Australia during exploration. You have the Beer Mountain to the north, and you have what we consider geologically on the map as Silver Hills. But it's associated with everything that was done around Beer Mountain, because all the mountains there drain with gold, all the creeks, everything that you drain, you can test anything you find gold grade.
No,
And
but the point that I'm trying to make, Mr. Gbarbea, the point I'm trying to make here is even with what has happened in Cape Mount, in that village where the water was contaminated, and even the fish that were in the water were dying, and people were eating it because they didn't know. What happened? The president went and renewed Beer Mountain contract for additional 25 years. And there were two gentlemen from Cape Mount that went to protest the signing of that contract, that how could you do this? And they were beaten right in front of the executive mansion. They were beaten up.
you see, another thing we should know here
Wow.
too, John, but another thing you should know that the mining law of 2000 states that it is for all extractive industry, whether oil, petroleum, or hard rock, government owns an equity of 10%. Sure, that's what the law says. Now, if we look at it, it's not being practiced. It's not being practiced. How is it compromised? That's another thing. Government should have equity in anything in excess of $10 million.
But
Well, ArcelorMittal, well, this, because if you look at ArcelorMittal, it's a typical story. Arcelor came with all the billions they had, but all of a sudden they gave it, what you call it, social development thing to the county, this one to the county, and nobody know how things are compromised.
That's right.
You see,
gentlemen,
yeah.
no. Listen, one quick question. So if government own 10% or whatever percent government own, does that give the government the authority to pollute?
Listen, that's not the question. Government has share. Government has a right to put in the right kind of person to protect its right into the company.
Right.
You see, look, let me tell you something. The same thing he's talking. Look at the ArcelorMittal. Look at the one in Kokoya. Kokoya had the same spillage. I personally wonder, all into the streams, they had the same spillage. What came out of that? They said they were doing corrective measures and were drilling wells for the people. The same thing, the pond, there was an overflow, and that went into the stream.
Mr. Gbarbea, what is the reluctance of government to make sure that this proper safety provisions are met, the proper environmental protections are maintained? What is their reluctance? Why are they not doing this?
That's a good question for you, man. It's a very good question, because I personally look at that 10% when ArcelorMittal came in. You ask a question, you don't get answer. I sat in technical meeting with the CEO of Mittal sitting down there, ArcelorMittal. Oh, you go to the president. When I talk to the president, we're doing that for the county, we're doing that for the county. That is the basic excuse people give. Go to Burma with a Chinese group. They build a dormitory hostel in the middle of the mine. All those buildings that Burma had going to wreck. Nothing is being protected. No drinking water. You environment, I tell you, we environment. But I visited all the mining sites in Liberia, all the little small things out there, and nothing is being protected. Now, if the local people that you treat on an EPA, you went to EPA, that's how I got late training with the environment to qualify myself to go and know how to speak. When you go in there, you train people to go in the water. They don't have basic logistics to work. The USAID hired me at one point to work with the National Bureau of Concession as a compliant officer after I left government. For 3 years, I had his lawyer. We put in place a template for ArcelorMittal. They never got just like you talk about Firestone. Nothing. We will
So,
put
Mr.
in
Gbarbea, the
So
bottom line, I'm sorry.
here is the thing, or the Norway camp, for instance. So in this case, what can be done to or what could have been done to have prevented that disaster? And even today, what can we do to avert such things as what happened in Norway camp? You talk about first, Dr. Cooper talk about the design of having the disaster up and then you sleeping under a pile of dead, right? So what else could have been done to so that we couldn't have what we had?
Okay.
Technicians must be technicians. We should start having a technical coat and with a political hat. And that's what happens. If you're going to appoint people to work in mines, to monitor, to verify, you don't put politicians who don't know what the soil is, don't understand concepts. And when you don't,
you always have politicians, right? You always have politicians, and you will always have political people making these decisions.
But the thing is, these are technical positions. It requires expertise. It doesn't require politicians.
No, but they got them.
But politicians make the decision.
So the problem here has to do with the institutional capacity building. When the situation happened in Camp Norway in 1982, there was no EPA. There was no National Disaster Administration. Now that we have EPA, and to their credit, they are doing some good things with respect to EIA. But the issue here is the entity is incapacitated. It is underfunded. It doesn't have the technical expertise. And in as much that it is an autonomous agency, the government got her hand all over EPA. You know, when it comes to compliance, they don't when they find a company, all they have to do is to go to the president or the vice president or someone at the top, and then they turn the whole decision around. So the EPA is there like a two-legged bulldog. And then
may I come in?
So it's a national disaster
agency, yeah.
The two agencies need to work together along with lands and mines. Because the problem has stayed there. The same thing that happened at Camp Norway, it still exists in Liberia today. It may not be at the magnitude it was then, but it still exists. And unless we can find solution to this issue, which has to take political will, it's unfortunate, but that's how our system of government is built. Every final decision comes from the head. And once the agency are not giving the kind of power for them to do their work, they will not do it. Then the next thing is people do not have, even citizens do not have the right, well, they do have the right to sue, but who are you going to sue? You're going to sue the same government that is in charge of the court? So it's very difficult, and our people are at the mercy.
Come on, let me give you a piece of let me give you an incident here. Let me give you an incident for them to know. You see the situation of Western Cluster. Western Cluster the bid was won by the Israeli group because they didn't have the expertise. They took in an Indian company called Sasagua, and Sasagua put a management group in there that is not managing. But the provision of moving the ore from Bumming Hills to Monrovia.
Yeah.
They felt the place was small. This is an EPA issue. We had an EPA meeting and Saturday night meeting. National stakeholder meeting for all the people from St. Paul River to Logan Town at the Jamaica school, the junior high school. EPA chaired that meeting.
Yeah.
And at that meeting, it was decided. We saw it was not possible to move 35-ton truck through the city of Douala, all that kind of thing to Phuket thing. Spillage, air pollution, and the rest of it. We said no. That was the decision at EPA. Today, They are trucking. We said before you the option we gave them, if you're going to truck, find a stockpile provision somewhere in the rigs area. And if you can do it by conveyor system where you wet the ore to keep the pollutants down, where you will convey your thing with all trucks.
Twerk was a target place too.
Yeah, and use the trucks only to up to rigs there where you could put a stockpile area there. That thing was on hold until recently I see it moving again.
It's dead.
No, I mean dead. I mean, Western cluster could not start. That things were hanging over to the EPA, and now I see it is happening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But even even talking about the EPA.
Okay.
Okay, you say what can we do about this problem, right? The solution has been with us from the beginning. The problem is this country is like people are thirsty in abundance of water. Liberia doesn't lack expertise in these areas, but they are not recognized or given the chance.
That's right.
Okay, that is the problem. That we don't have strategies of technical people. Okay, let me give you one example. LMC closed in 1978, and the citizen got concerned. Why should you allow a company to just close abruptly like that? They had a pressure on President Talbot. So he was constrained to ask Dr. Fodo Nkrumah to go to LMC and check whether the ore had been really depleted, because that was the claim. Dr. Fodo Nkrumah went and did his assessment. He's a trained geologist. He said LMC had enough reserve. They didn't have the need to close. But he was Fodo Nkrumah from Camah. Nobody want to listen to him. We still have this thread that running through our country of settler and aborigines, and they recognize you because of your name. Dr. Fodo Nkrumah made his assessment and told the president, the people still have ore there. They shouldn't go. But from Camah, in those days, those names were not recognized, so all her education was zero. So the mine never reopened. If you look at the shape of Bombing Hills,
it was probably more than that.
Yeah. If you look at the shape of Bombing Hill, the whole what you call Bombing Hill now is like an inverted cone. Have you looked at it? It's like an inverted cone, and the base gets narrower and narrower. They were constrained. They couldn't go any further. They couldn't go any further with money. But they're always under there. In a situation where when your cost is exceeding your profit, you go underground. That's why you have surface money and underground money. When the cost to remove all of this overburden will eat your profit, you convert to underground money. But that's why LMC were running away from. And they lied to the government, said the oil is finished. But the oil was still there. But for the Nkrumah, he's a Nkrumah, so his knowledge is zero. This is the threat going on in Liberia. The competent people are put in the back. The incompetent people are brought in to make decisions. Now, how can you make decisions and you don't understand? The concession here is happy with you because the kind of people you bring in is happy. They're incompetent. You put anything in the concession agreement, son. This is the problem. We have no... Go ahead.
My question is, do we even know? And the reason I say that is even today, right? We have elections coming up next week. Is any politician talking about these things? Are the citizens demanding these things? Is anybody even concerned? Like in the case of Norway Camp, and as Dr. Koffa said, these things are still happening today. Does it concern anyone? Jimmy,
No.
you follow these things very closely. Is anyone talking about mining or the disaster? I have a cousin who, they say from whatever they were doing in mine, he developed skin cancer. He died.
Yeah.
Are these things, even people, and Dr. Koffa, anytime you hear people talking about Bokon Jire, where they have been mining ever since my grandfather was a child, at the place Dr. Koffa come from.
Yeah, they're my hometown.
Good.
Now, these places, people are mining there and they are dying every day. But is this a concern? Jimmy, let me start with you. Is it what people are talking about in these elections? Is that what the citizens talking about?
You know, it has not resonated with the citizens that we are missing expertise in all our areas. No one is Nobody is talking about it. Everybody is talking about, they want jobs, or they want positions, but they're not talking about what all we need to do to change the country, or to put the country on a different trajectory. They're not talking about that. It's all superficial. It's all about partyism. It's all about cronyism. Nothing is about changing Liberia to put it back to where it's supposed to be going. And I can't blame our people, because the government is supposed to inform the people, inform them about the things that need to be done. All of us sitting here, we're supposed to, like how we're talking now, we're supposed to be talking to our people so that they have this understanding, so that they start taking actions in the ministries, in the different organizations, to get on the trajectory that we need to be. But it's not concerning nobody.
Yeah, Jimmy, just 1 minute. It doesn't bring vote to anybody. This topic will not give people vote. They won't talk about it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Let Jim come in.
Yeah, Dr. Cooper, are you not shouting loud enough for people to hear that these things are important, that they be front and center in our discussion?
Listen, thanks for letting me know. I want to find the right moment to talk about election vote gathering issue. My problem we have with this election is, to my mind, representative democracy that we are practicing is for educated people. The masses of our people, over 60%, cannot read and write. You gave him ballot to go find somebody to select and vote for him. He can't even know where to put his fingerprint. You got to explain to him. So I have problem with this thing from the beginning, from the get-go. But we are in it, so let's go. Kuku Jumuku, we inside. So let's drive it, keep going. Now, the thing to bring to the forefront, as Dr. Mulabah said, talking about previous mining disaster and lack of inspection and enforcement of health and safety issue in the mine, you're not going to give anybody a vote. So that will not even come near the table of where you are articulating points to make to voter. People have need for bag of rice today and to survive today and tomorrow. You bring 2 bags of rice, that gets create excitement. So let me close here by saying our frustration about what to do to enforce health and safety regulation and to avoid previous mining disaster, bare knuckle enforcement of the law, lock somebody or make the person an example. Until we can get to that point, we will be frustrated and throw out our hand. People lack of discipline, they are corrupt, they will fall for $5 anytime for any reason, and that's how it is. Our discipline is we have to go to the core of the issue and train a new set of Liberian, a Liberian that focus on the future. Right now, the generation we are speaking to, for me, from a corruption standpoint, they're done, gone. You cannot re-engineer their mind. You cannot reprogram their mind to love Liberia and not pocket the money. We need to go back to elementary school and bring a new set of Liberian for tomorrow. That's what I think.
Thank you. Mr. Gbarbea,
Yeah.
you were trying to say something?
yeah, I just wanted to raise some concern in terms of how sometimes technicians get frustrated in terms of how you see avenues to incorporate bring in place a system that will bring a lot of technicians and to the table with jobs. I'll tell you a typical example. I was in Australia for a while, and I saw how the chain attachment to a mine. What supply to the mine? How it goes. We had a typical example. Let's put explosives. Come on. You work with a mine. You have a couple of guys that work with the mine. When we went back home 2008, the ECOMOC people raised concern with government that too many people were using explosives in the waterway to fishing.
Yeah.
They were dangerous. Executive Mansion controls firearms and explosives. They didn't have the expertise. We did it. We call a meeting, convene a meeting, put things together, and that's nice. We worked with that. But at that meeting, we saw that all forthcoming concessions, even the quarries, needed explosives. Can we incorporate the idea to put in a Liberia setting to attract all the technicians to work and make sure that we monitor concession? I mean, what comes in explosives and how we supply it to them? We got in contact with some people from other Nigeria. We went to Abuja, came down to Benin State, saw the facilities. We got in contact with some people who went to Ghana, a group they call Maxam. Yeah, well, how can we stop concession in a concession agreement? To stop them, take it out. They don't have exclusive right to bring in anything they want to bring. They don't want to bring in what you call concession here, bring almost anything. Those who got concession here. But this provision wanted to take, see how we could get it as technicians and get the right mind to operate it. Because I had some young boys working, even the military and national security work, we all work as a team. That's how I met Patrick Sulu. You were part of our team. But those provisions are left in constitution and gave the exclusive rights. It gave you, myself, with some expertise, no chance to excel or start a business. That's a very big business, multi-million-dollar business. I want them 400 people. In terms of how I've been talking to them about Camah. How can we take that unequal concession agreement? How do we monitor our own safety? If nobody is willing to listen, everybody wants people to walk in, then where do we go? These are some of the things we find in our own setting. And you see, it's in your concession. They got total rights.
Yeah.
To do what they do.
Since we're talking about election, I wanted to add my 2 cents. I wanted to add my 2 cents to the issue of election. This is a very difficult issue because what we're talking about here, we cannot find any resolution to it if our people remain in the kind of a mindset they are now. The electorate in Liberia, they are not issue-oriented. Mm-hmm. As we speak now, even there are a couple of days more to the election, and there has not been any debate between the candidates to talk about the issues. But the electorate themselves, they are not interested in listening to the issue. They want to go and vote out there based on popularity and who is my best friend, who this and that, and that's what's going on. And this has been going on from time to time. Why is it that in Liberia the issue of debate, and it goes to Mr. Jar, one of the he has a very good program that speaks broad to a lot of issues about Liberia, but the issue of debate with the candidates, I don't know who's talking about it. It's a serious question. As we speak now, there's one major issue that is happening, but a lot of people are not talking about it. It's about the carbon trade. The Minister of Finance went to Dubai, he and the president, I think they signed almost a $50 billion to get 10% of our reserve forest to a Dubai company. No one is talking about it. We are mortgaging or exploitation of our country. No one is talking about it. By the time we know our reserve forest that is being kept there for quite some time for many, many other reasons would have disappeared. And Liberia would be bankrupt. It may not be our time, but it's our next generation. Are we not talking about it? Are we not concerned? So the issue are just too enormous for us. Yeah. But it behooves us. We can't give up. We have to continue to talk about this issue with our people so that they understand and make better decisions for themselves.
Okay, may I come in?
Thank you.
May I come in?
Dr. Cooper, you will come in, and then our next step will be, where do we go from here? What do we do? But go ahead, Dr. Cooper.
Okay, after Dr.
With
Cooper.
regard to forest reserve that Dr. Koffa is talking about, I wrote a PhD graduate research paper, Deforestation in Africa, Loan to Third World Country, and Forest Reserve in Developed Country.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I found significant positive correlation between the total amount of loan given to third world country, the total acreage of area deforested, tree cut down, remove all the vegetation, and inversely proportional to the growth of forest reserve in developed country. Let me put it in street language. They cutting down our tree and they keeping their own forest and they giving us nickel, pennies. Okay.
I like to read that. I'd like to read that document.
I'm going to find it before you leave here. We're changing number. So
Okay.
now, before we move forward, we need to pay attention and wake up to deforestation. Before the desert appear in your backyard, the forests are the first to go. With global warming, the trees provide oxygen. If you remove the vegetation and the trees, you are reducing the amount of oxygen available. And also, thirdly, there is something called biodiversity. Biodiversity comes at 3 levels: ecosystem diversity, genetic diversity, and species diversity. It is the species diversity that is being cut down and marketed in Dubai or somewhere in the Middle East, as Dr. Koffa stated. So we need to wake up and stop mortgaging our country future with regard to forests.
Yeah.
I yield the floor.
Thank you. So, as we said,
Yes.
41 years ago, we had the Norway camp disaster. We all say and we discuss what happened, why it happened. Now we are here. What can we do now so that we don't have another Norway camp, or so that we can
Okay.
benefit a little more? What is the way
Okay,
forward?
I want to start that. The way forward, I think I mentioned before, we need to form a consortium of Liberian professionals. Then we have a Liberian integrated database system that will control all of these, monitoring wisdom, doing this. Every ministry that has to do with data, every ministry will be within the Liberian integrated database system. If I want to get something to know whether APA is actually doing its job, it's a central command. I have access to the database. I can ask questions. I can ask Minister of Man, are you monitoring the bee mountain? Where's your report? I can log into your system. So we need that central control. And we'll have that central control and the right people in the right position, we will start in the right direction.
Dr. Mulabah, let me ask you before, will you have teeth? Because you can
Yeah, we will have teeth because...
What going to give you teeth?
Okay, we'll have teeth because we're not going to the government of Liberia to ask for the job or to ask for help. This is a system that's going to be funded by international organizations. So we'll be independent of government influence. It's a consortium that will seek funding for the United Nations or the US government or World Bank. Since they are crying about corruption, it's useless to sanction someone after he has eaten millions of dollars. But if our organization can avoid such things, then the support is real.
But would the government want to do business with you?
Yeah, we'll be working with the government, but we'll give the government...
What if they don't want to?
The government will have to do it because we are backed by international organizations.
I mean, what can international government do to them? The international government pose sanction and do this. If government doesn't want to do it, so what can you do? Or like Mr. Bobby want to come?
No, yeah, he will come in. Let me get if I can tell the government that I can avoid you from being disgraced with sanction if you let me do these functions for you. That's another way. So go ahead, Jawad.
Look, you see,
we're talking about the way forward now.
Yeah. I look at Camah proposal, and it's applicable. It makes some sense, but let's start from where it hits everybody. Let's say I got their own cadastral. This one, everybody got their own database here and there. Well, let's start from the fundamental thing that hits you and myself and everybody. Let's start from the land issue. Land. You know that if you buy a piece of land here in America, here tomorrow somebody will sell it and give you a deal that by 1920. Do you understand what I'm saying? Most of the people who buy land, if you do construct on it to start forcing somebody, they go and resell it. So now, if we had a database that captures land purchases and the right thing, you start there because land is everybody's business. When you start that, it will start working, and the people see the need, will stop all the forcing for land thing. The other things will flow. Because I see everybody got their own database in Liberia. Everybody.
That is the problem. That's the problem.
Everybody got it. But the most critical thing I see is the land. Because you see most of the land on the shuffling way, even what they used to call Sugar Beach. They used to call a place called Liberty. It used to be Trinity Lake. I had a couple of incidents where people had land back then. Trinity Lake. Jimmy know the Trinity family behind Bida Harris School. They came to Lesser one time and I followed their case. This guy had a deed made by somebody and had some surveyor really on it. And if you don't correct it, I had the same problem in Bangla too. And I see it. Because sooner or later, somebody take knife or cutlass to chop the next man. But once you start capturing it, like Camah say, the birth certificate thing, they want you start capturing it. All the information start capturing. It's somebody who is a custodian of a database who can go back into the thing and change what he want to change.
Yeah, Joa, it's similar to what you met when I left at Lensamar.
You started that thing, and
I coded the money claim. You could not get the same claim; it will reject. So that's why the central database will do the same thing with the land. It will be coded, you cannot repeat it.
But the worst part of it, if you are coded it and Camah, you are the only authority that can go and change, and you become ugly tomorrow. Start thinking, I gotta help a friend. But if you had a central system, but that is the situation of how with some of the big land issues.
I think the host, the CEO, Mr. Jah, made a very good point. And everything that Dr. Mulabah said is good. We can form a scientific group that would be a sort of a pressure group,
yes,
to make the government to do something, hoping that whoever becomes the next president will be able to listen to us, or some lawmakers can listen to us. Because if you can work with them and find somebody at the lawmaking position to listen to you, this will work. But if this is a scientific group that will come up with scientific idea and recommendation, chances are it might work. But let's bear in mind that there's a system of government we have that, according to what Jah said, and I know that for sure, that don't want to listen to you. And that has been happening for me, and that's frustrated some of us been going to Liberia for the past 20-something years, using our own money just to make some impact. But sometimes it gets misconstrued. And, and as soon as you turn your back, I used to do Jimmy said, I used to go to Liberia and do EIA training. But all of a sudden now, somebody got up and said, oh, why you bringing that man here when we got people right here that can do the same training? And they are lapsed for so many times. So I think it's very important that we find a solution. I think that's what Mr. Jah is trying to say. What do we do? How do we find a solution?
I understand his point. My point is the UN or World Bank that's going to be funding us can tie certain things for the government to be obligated to accept these things, because it is their money that is going to be corrupted and used. If they say you need to work with this organization, we're expecting this organization who get a full backing of the international organization. We may have a problem, but we have to go that way, because if you go to depend on the government, you're not going to do it.
I agree.
Thank you. Before you come in, Dr. Koffa, I want to, there's a number on the screen. If you are watching This is 41 years after the Mano River Norway camp disaster. What have we learned? If you're watching and want to participate in the conversation, please call the number on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And yes, this is not about the election, and so maybe people may not call, but we want you to call, because if these things are not fixed, we can have one leader after the other. You can even have me, as good as I am. The issue will not be resolved.
That's a good one.
Dr. Cooper, where do we go from here?
Well, following up on Dr. Mulabah's statement about some World Bank making loan to Liberia, and let me tell you, let the world get up, guys. These learning organization, international learning organization like the World Bank, I'm suspicious of the World Bank. Let me be clear about it, because here is why. From J.J. Robert time to today, my understanding, the World Bank been making loan to third world country, Liberia in particular, and up to now, whether or not the loan was used for the interest of these people, that the bank gave hold Liberia accountable. No, they are hiding under the pretext that Liberia is a quote-unquote sovereign country. So this sovereign country, you gave them $1 million, $10 million to go build a bridge. 5 years later, they come for more $10 million. Why don't you ask them what happened to the $10 million you had the last time? Where did you put it? So I'm suspicious of World Bank and the loan. I want to be on the record. Thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you. Jimmy.
You know, just what the gentleman say, it is discouraging. We are at odds with our own people. You see, our people don't understand the complexities of the things we're talking about. They don't appreciate some of the values. It to me, it's a value issue, because if you don't the naked traffic light, if you don't think there's any value as a pen driver to stop, then what about other provisions we make?
Why should a pen driver have that value? This is, I mean, where does it come from?
Okay, why should they have it, or
why should they have it? I mean, I'm born. My both parents Zogos, so how?
Yeah,
because we got to start from somewhere. Maybe we are putting too much burden on the ordinary pen driver, but those values of society need to be taught.
Thank you.
And it should come from somewhere. Dr. Cooper talked about, say, well, this is, and I'm paraphrasing, this is a lost generation. Let's go back to kindergarten and start from there.
Well, for some other things, we will have to go back to kindergarten, but we have to teach and establish value. And I want to, honestly, besides us talking about value here, the leadership has to embrace value. If they don't embrace value, if not go into debate, if we can win elections without talking about the issues, that's how it's going to be. If we're going to have institutions and not appoint anybody, any expert in that institution, that's how it's going to be. If we continue this trend that all the established institutions and all of that doesn't matter, we'll just do it any kind of way, that's how it's going to be. We have to, at one point, start talking to our people. Look at what happened in Foya the other day. The people are uprooting the street light. Why are you what is the street? The street light is to provide light for everybody. What is the reason that somebody would attack the infrastructure that is given to them that they would benefit from it? No, we need to talk to our people and to change the mindset. To change the mindset that we have to appreciate the little we have. We have to give it value, because if we don't, start giving these things value, we are not going to go anywhere. And that's the thing. We have to teach value at some point, because values makes who you are. All these gentlemen on this, I know Mulabah ever since Gene, all in school together with Gene and all. These guys value their education. They value things. They didn't come from somebody who were privileged, but because of their value of education and professionalism, they are who they are today. Until we start teaching value to our people, they will continue on this route.
Thank you. Let me come to you. Let me give you an example of like Mulabah said. Well, these issues are not talked about because they don't bring vote. I had an experience. I interviewed someone who went to Liberia to run campaign and he lost. He said when he came back, I said, "What was your experience?" He said, "Well, I was trying to teach values. I was trying to teach these things for them to vote, but that's not what they're looking for." So somebody told me, say, "Well, if they ask for bag of rice, give it. When you become president, then you can change it." Jimmy gave an example of the incident in Lofa. Well, these children that were in the streets, I saw them knock down a house with stones, kill somebody, and drag the person out. Even while the person was there, they were still hitting that person. These people, someone is their head. The party leaders, what are they saying? How are they discouraging them? How are politicians training their members even how to cast their vote? How are they educating them? When the war came, they said, well, one group said they wanted to educate the rebels before sending them. Another group said, if we educate them, they will not fight like animals. So we have to send them that way. And the point I'm making here is we sometimes blame the people down, but it comes from the top, because when people are educated, they would not be so stupid for them to benefit, for you to benefit from their stupidity, for the lack of a better word. Dr. Cooper.
Gentlemen, talking about teaching value to our people, that goes to all of what I'm for. Let me put a word out today. I agree. I'm available. At this point, I'm an associate professor of environmental science and geology. I agree to teach for free 1 year Liberian University and high school. I'm available. I'm not looking for money. I don't want anybody to buy me gas. I don't want anybody to grease my palms or anything. I do it for free for high school and the university. I think high school and I think middle school and elementary school, they're going to be upset with me. I'm going to be too fast for them. So free education, 1 year, I guarantee it. And that's my call toward teaching our people value. Thank you. I'm willing to do it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And you heard it right here on Focus on Liberia.
Yes.
If you want to get in touch with Dr. Cooper, please.
Yeah, I will get in contact with him. I will get in contact with him.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. We have a caller here. I want to bring in one caller to join the conversation, and then you can come in as we try to wind it down. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
Hi, my name is Joyce. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Before I go to the question, Mr. Jah, are you sure you're very, 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 very good man?
I'm a very good man. And why you can be telling me or you're flattering me?
No, I just tell you. The question I wanted to ask, before I go to the question, the election people you're talking about is truth. Our children is not trained to how to vote. Because the leader that we have will need to start from the first and the second and the third branches of government in Liberia. Because if the leader they can stay and say they don't know where rocks to come from, they don't know when they bring rock, will bring rock, get guns in your hand. You are a leader. And you're telling the people only you those things, you make them to be violent. That's what can go on in our children's life in Liberia. But back to the topic, I love what all you guys are saying. According to you guys, the people way older than my power. I'm so sorry, gentlemen. These are all good ideas. I got some of the answers I'm going to ask. If you guys can put together, some of them calling you guys, so if you people can put together and start a company, as a gentleman just said, you can work free, like any money. Put on a company as a non-profit organization. Put your good ideas on paper. Go to Liberia Get a non-profit organization here as people go to that road and train people. Talk to people willingly and train people. Google people in Liberia, very educated, need this kind of training. And we talk it on air, they will not get it, but we need to put it on paper and go step. Before people get too old, I beg you, this Google idea, we put it in black and white and share it teach our young children. And because some children need to learn how to vote in Liberia, violence is not a way to voting. I'm listening, I enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mulabah, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, the Mano rural people, there are two things. We have the landslide, which is phenomenal. But we also have the human factor that causing them to suffer. So 1982 was a landslide. 1985 we closed, and the severance pay is an issue. So I just want to say something on that right now. And this one is to Edwin Melvin Snow Jr. Okay, I am going to add another name and call him Moses Edwin Melvin Snow Jr. When God saw that the Israelites were suffering under Pharaoh in Egypt, he told Moses to go and tell the Pharaoh, "Thus said the Lord, let my people go." Pharaoh refused, and God instructed Moses to lead the people, parting the Red Sea and paving the way for the eventual exit out of Egypt. Moses Edwin Snow, God had a purpose when he placed you in Mano in the early 80s. You saw the challenges early in life. So when their severance pay became an issue, they looked at you to help them collect their severance pay. They trusted you, Edwin Snow. You were the Moses they sent to make sure that they received their money from Pharaoh. But when Moses Edwin Melvin Snow went to Pharaoh, he changed his mind and joined Pharaoh to deprive the former worker of NRC of their justly earned money. This gross and flagrant injustice, Edwin Snow, is wrong. I am demanding in this moment that you remove yourself from any and all negotiation that have to do with this, the severance pay of former worker of NRC. We will get our money with or without you. I'm sure you are aware of the statement that you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Edwin Melvin Snow, you cannot do that. Okay?
Thank you.
So, easier to remind you of one is written in Shakespeare, that lowliness is your ambitious ladder, whereunto the climber he turned up his face. And having reached the upper rung, he scorns the base from which he ascended. This is what Melvin Snow has done. He has abandoned his people. Please take yourself out of this, and we'll get our money. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. So, and as we talk about we are drawing down to close in the next 5 to 10 minutes. But what I want to find out is, these people, they are, and I'm reading some documents that they are, did they have insurance? The victim, did they benefit? Did their families who they left behind, was there any money paid to them? Because this is a mining disaster.
You see, of the 50 plus person that government said worked for the mine, and over almost 150 that were people living in the adjacent areas, government said they want to take care of that. Up to now, I asked nobody can give you a record what happened there. Those who live in the company houses are working for the company. I guess some family live, but not much. It was not to the point where your rightful amount is determined. But some assistance were given. That's what happened in the money in the situation there. So government had a responsibility because it was a government mine, 85% owned by the government. So their obligation to handle those that were not within the mines, in the confines of the mine operation, to take care of them. And
but what were they entitled to from NROC?
Nothing. Look, Mano has nothing written down per se. It was like a Liberian company running. Everybody, somebody say bought share here, they want bought share, and the Liberian government took it over. So
the
all
only
that, it was. Yeah, go ahead, Camah.
The only insurance that worked for them was private insurance, where you have some company who are in Monrovia, like United Security Insurance, they will come and sell the insurance, and then they will pay the death benefit or all of that. But for the government, it was just zero.
So
because you can't sue the government. Government can't sue itself. Government own the company. So that was the whole conundrum.
As of today, if disaster like that happens in, let's say, Metal Steel or Firestone, what do the victims get or their families they left behind?
It depends on the concession agreement that we sign.
Do we know?
It depends on the concession agreement. And if competent people go there and sign anything, then how do we get benefits?
I think nowadays it's more organized. A bit more organized now, a bit more, as compared to the days gone by. I think the labor ministry is getting involved with some of these things to make sure that people affected do benefit from any incident, but whatever. And that's what the situation is. But what can we do?
Dr. Cooper will come in then, Dr. Cooper.
Okay. Gentlemen, the technical report from the Ministry of Lands, Mine, or that I got from Dr. Camah on the Mano River disaster, I read somewhere in there that the technical people that went out there after the disaster, they blame the local people for cutting down trees from between the diaper and the pond.
Right. It's the deforestation.
They're using to look for wood. That is a shame. They are blaming the people for the disaster. That is a shame. Let's be clear about it. It's insignificant. It should not be counted in that kind of report. The design to have the camp in the lowest elevation and put the stormwater pond above the camp and then pile the mud above the people is an engineered disaster made by man. It had nothing to do with cutting trees. I just want to go on the record for that. Thank you
Dr.
so much.
Cooper, let me ask something here. Could the trees stand the onslaught of the wisdom that were coming down?
No.
Even if they are not moving?
No.
Again,
half a million tons of material.
Yes.
That goes to what we've been saying. The first thing, there is no justice in Liberia when it comes to the kind of thing for those who are victimized. Right. But this is why I backed Dr. Mulabah proposal that there's a need for a form of technical team. And that technical team can begin to assess and look at where it is the statute of limitation. Right. For those people who are victimized, do we revisit that and pull a team of engineers together to go back and do an evaluation? And finally, if there's no statute of limitation, then we can pursue that through the justice system. If it is not in Liberia, we can find where to see it, take it to the international court, because the company that was there is an international company. But what is most important, why it is true that these things happen in Gbarbea and other parts of Liberia, happen in Camah and other parts of Liberia, what is before us now is the future of Liberia, our next generation, our current generation, and next generation. We have to do something. The issue that I just talked about our carbon trade. The forest that Liberia has, from what I learned, Liberia has, I think, about 100 million hectares of forest reserve. And I think 4 million of that is properly reserved. I include the Sapo and other areas. And they are now beginning to sell that forest. $50 billion, I'm telling you, is now to be signed. If it has not been signed, I got pictures seeing the Minister of Finance and the President in Dubai negotiating the deal. It will do not, and this goes to Mr. Jah, because your program is a very effective program, and I'm asking you to take part in this process of keeping our people aware of what is going on with respect to our natural resources that's supposed to be used equitably for the benefit of our people, for schools, clinics, and everything else. We cannot allow, we have no problem people come in to explore our natural resources, but let it be done in a fair Mano, by bringing in the experts. Liberia have experts. I can see some of them on here now that can help to protect the dignity and the future of our country. And this is my appeal.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. We are out of time, so we'll be going around the room for your closing. Let's close on this. We talk about the disaster. Again, our hearts go to the family, and this is our way of commemorating. I understand that even where they were buried, you can't even recognize that place anymore. So how do we memorialize these people whose life were destroyed? But let's end here tonight, and I hope this becomes a continuous discussion, because repetition can do a whole lot. So let's end by, let me get your closing comment. Mr. Gbarbea, you are first.
I got two concerns out here. The Camah concept in terms of how we consolidate ourselves, in terms and tackle these things, it's a good concept, but we have to start from somewhere and how to put it together, because the data are all spread, and we have to. The second issue I got is that Liberia sits at a site that most politicians don't understand the benefit we tend to gain. Liberia has the shortest deep water for big ships, 1 mile outside. I wonder the politician, the technician understand that all the mines that you see in Guinea and our mines up in Liberia, most of them cannot come out because we have infrastructure sitting down that they need. Even you see the Western Coast. You know what the target will be? Wologizi and the Samadu mine. They cannot move that water to Guinea has a 12-mile zone out there for deep waters. We have 1 mile. You won't believe it. I forced myself to get on that tugboat to go see where for Buchanan Port. Liberia stand at a point wherever you try to mine from, you will need our facilities, our deep water facility, big energy big. So as we go forth in Liberia in terms of technician, we should be thinking we should not be a mineral cursed country. But let's sit down and look at our infrastructure. How can we bet? Even the Putu mine. The Putu mine was said to be about 500 million. You know what is the reserve of Putu now? 3.something billion after they did the work. Associated with gold mineralization. And first time seeing the gold nugget this big. And man had it in a Putu setup there one time when they field. We have a lot of people where we sit, and we should look at that. Our leaders should understand that in the bargaining going forward for the future. That's all I want to just put out there.
Mr. Gbarbea, and you don't have to tell me yes or no. Has any of our presidential candidates spoken to you?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Because
I'll keep quiet. I'll keep in the background. No, I'll keep quiet. That's all.
Yeah. What I'm saying here is, because I have been calling some of our presidential candidates, say, what is your plan? And most of the thing is just platitude. And how can you run for president without developing a plan? And if you're developing a plan, who are you talking to? I spoke to an agricultural scientist, and no politician, no presidential candidate has talked to him. I'm like, where are they getting their plan from? That's why when you read their plan, it's all fluff. You're closing, Dr. Koffa.
Well, thank you very much, my distinguished colleagues. And thank you, Mr. Jar. To your audience that are listening, today we are talking about what happened in Camp Norway in 1982. Almost close to 500 got buried. There's no way we can memorialize them because can't even locate where the grave is. But what is important to learn from this is to look at what is happening now in Liberia and what may happen moving forward. Your decision to select who you want to be the leader of our country and the lawmakers is in your hand. Your vote can make a difference. and make sure you decide for the person you think that will change your life for the better. It is your responsibility that you have in a democratic process. Exercises. Don't be compromised because somebody wants to give you a few dollars or a bed rest so that you can vote for them. Vote for them knowing very well that they will do better. And this is important. If you fail to do that, then you would have brought cost on yourself. And whatever comes after, don't blame nobody else. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Dr. Cooper, your closing.
Gentlemen, thank you so much with regard to memorializing the people, training mining inspectors, henceforth enforcing the law so that the disaster we had don't happen again will go a long way. And please help me to put this out there that abandoned mine reclamation for agricultural purposes should be articulated to any new politician coming. In other words, these old mines, we go back to them and reclaim them and convert it to agricultural sites. And finally, I am available to teach 1 year for free. You don't have to pay me, you don't have to do me anything. From high school, community college, and the university. I got PhD, I'm a licensed professional geologist. This is what left of my license right here. And that's all for now, gentlemen. Please take me up my offer.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Dr. Mulabah, your closing.
Yeah, thank you for hosting us. Thank you for hosting us, and may their soul rest in peace. Like I said, we need to come together as a consortium of Liberian professionals, in and out. Then we've worked towards the establishment of Liberian Integrated Database System, LRDS, where we'll have control over every aspect of data management, where if we have economic question, the economic section of our database, the team, economists will deal with that. Mining problem, the mining engineer. So we can have one voice, one data solution, and then we advise the government in a way in which we can evolve some of these things. And then maybe we can play a role in making sure the real people are put in the technical area somewhere where they belong. If you misplace your talents and you put people there because of who knows you, this problem will continue forever. So I'm appealing to all of you. Let's get together and try to save Mother Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Wow, gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys being here today. I've learned so much from you. But what is at stake here, people in focus of Liberia land, is the future of our children. These gentlemen are already accomplished, well learned. The fruits of Liberia, they have appreciated the fruits of Liberia, and today they are in a position to help Liberia. But they have been barred. They have been stopped from helping Liberia because people that are in charge now do not want somebody who would be straightforward, somebody who would be scientific, somebody who would be honest. So we have a very big challenge ahead of us. How do we get the right people in the right positions in the right job? It has to start with us, whoever you are. It has to start with how you are looking at yourself, your country, and your children. It has to be that each one of us take a responsibility of ourselves. Say, you know what? Maybe it's like this today, but I will make it better for my child. When you start looking through lenses like that, then your decision, who you will pick for this or that person, it will change because you're looking at the future for your children. And once we all start looking like that, some of the shysters and the people we see coming in front of us will know immediately, we'll know in ourselves that they don't mean nothing for the future of our children.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go ahead, always remember the future of our children is at stake. Yes. And everything we do will either help them or hurt them. That's all I got.
On that note, I want to say thank you so much, gentlemen, for your presence here tonight. As we remember our fallen brothers and sisters who died 41 years ago. I want to appreciate your time. I value your expertise and say, please come back here and let's talk more. We want to thank our viewers, even those who will watch later. Always focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. On that note, we close with our song that says, whether you live in Norway camp or Plebo, we are all Liberians. What is important for all of us is to do whatever it takes to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good night and God bless you.
Good night.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.